Kirby Smart, highest paid coach in all of college football, and that is appropriately so. This man is the best in the business. We're going to tell you why next on Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Is up, everybody. Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. He is Clint. I am Daniel. Welcome to another week talking about Georgia football and basketball. We love that you're here. We love that we're here, to be totally honest with you. And we love that Monopoly Go is here talking about them later on today's episode. Download the app on the App Store, Google Play Store, Monopoly Go. More on them in a moment. But as Clint mentioned, in the cold open there, Kirby Smart got himself a little bit of a raise last week. It's a little bit old news at this point, but we're discussing it here. Contract goes up to 2033. That's the number that is interesting. I know people are going to talk about the 13 million and whatnot.
I don't care about that.
2033, Clint. The man is signed for until then. Now, obviously, he could step away at any point during that contract, and that number really, it doesn't mean a ton. Kirby Smart's job is not going to be in jeopardy between now and 2033.
Never was, never will be.
Yeah, that's right. So that number really doesn't matter a ton, but I think it does give Georgia fans some peace of mind. We might talk about how, maybe in the third segment, our perceived longevity of Kirby Smart, how long we think we might plan to see him around in Athens. But for now, just know he's the highest paid coach in all of college football. He's making $13 million a year, which is nearly a $2 million raise, Clint, from a previous iteration of the salary. And again, you said it, worth every penny.
There's not a single check that has been cut for Kirby Smart that you think to yourself, you know what? We could have allocated
on that one.
Maybe we could have allocated funds somewhere else, and it probably would have served us better. No,
not at all. And we're going to talk to you about all the reasons why on today's episode. But big picture news is, in a day and age where coaching college football is not exactly the most attractive girl at the dance, so to speak. You're seeing a lot of people leave college football mostly because they've been caught cheating and go coach the San Diego Chargers. And so you realize that at some point, and it already has happened, I'm sure, Kirby's going to continue to receive suitors from the NFL. He's going to continue to receive other offers to go and make use of his time elsewhere. But not only is he provided with every opportunity for winning at the University of Georgia, his alma mater, an institution that he loves, not only does he get to live in Athens, Georgia, a place that he loves, but he's also being paid handsomely for it. And I cannot imagine a scenario, Clint, where Kirby Smart does not keep getting raises, making him constantly the highest paid coach in all of college football. And again, worth it. So let's get into why it's so worth it for Georgia to pay Kirby Smart all this money. And let's not even start with the football related stuff. Okay? Maybe we'll get to that in segment 2. Kirby Smart makes you understand how business works, right?
I do.
You pay people at your organization who are then going to make your organization even more money than you pay him. Take the hosts of the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, for example.
It's you and I.
Generating revenue in excess of the amount which we are receiving for said employment opportunity. That's how employment works. Kirby Smart generates more money for the University of Georgia through college football playoff appearances, Clint, through media revenue deals because of the overall quality of the product and the demand. Look at TV ratings for college football games over the last 10 years. Look at Georgia games and the biggest games that Georgia plays and see how they compare to other college football games. And you will quickly see that Kirby Smart has turned Georgia into a must-consume commodity, general public at large. And there will be a time, it's already happened with rivals, but there will be a time across college football at large, and it's probably already happening, where Georgia becomes a villain. That's inevitable with a team like Georgia and a coach like Kirby Smart and a dynasty like the one that Georgia's building. They will eventually become a villain. But you know what happens with villains, Clint? People, they tune in hopes that they see the program lose. It still generates the eyeballs. It still generates a profitable product on the field. Kirby Smart makes this university hand over fist more money than he is being paid. And so if you think for 1 second, well, these people are educators aren't being paid $13 million. Firefighters aren't being paid $13 million. No denying that educators and firefighters have a more important job in the grand scheme of civilization than Kirby Smart does. And it's not particularly close. But that's not how they make decisions about who gets paid what. And I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but the reason WNBA athletes don't get paid as much as NBA athletes is not because of any other reason other than they don't generate as much money as NBA athletes. Therefore, there's not enough money with which to pay them. Kirby Smart is underpaid by a lot. That's the point of
the SEC gathered $452 million
Here we go.
since college football was instituted. Okay, just there's that. Annually, let's just kind of break it down. Just simplified to SEC, a team in the SEC will make as much as $23 million annually. From college football, it's $3 to $5 million for participation in advancing in the playoff and distributing all of that money from the SEC as well as other bowls, yada, yada, all that good stuff. That means that if Georgia goes to the playoff, from SEC, from advancing $5 million a year each time, so the 2 runs that Kirby won national championship, that's $10 million right there in those games alone, Daniel, in those 4 games.
How about the fact that in the new playoff format, there's a potential, there's a home game involved. The home game in Sanford Stadium. Athletic department making any money on that, Clint?
In 4 games, Kirby earned 1 year of salary. 4 games.
4 games.
Whole entire year. Taken care of. Okay?
Yeah.
Not to include everything else that's happening and not to include all the other money the SEC is getting from this. Kirby Smart is absolutely underpaid for the product that he puts out on the field, for the amount of national exposure, for the amount of sales that Georgia generates from draft day and from guys in the league. And that Power G already had clout, but now there's more clout because there's more players drafted by Kirby Smart than any other coach in the first 7-8 years in the history of college football. And it's only getting better and more.
Oh, but he's past his prime, over the hill, and probably about to. Oh, no, wait, that was another coach.
That was a
different coach. This is Kirby Smart. He's just getting started.
He's just getting started. We're going to come back after this, give you more reasons that Kirby Smart is worth every single penny of that contract he just got. But after this. This is, in fact, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's fantastic. Daniel and I love them. When you're hiring for small business, you want to find qualified professionals, right role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals, your team, faster and for free. It's not just a job board. It helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open for the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing many hats and might not have time to resource and hire. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free. LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. That's LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. You said that the money that is coming into Athens and into the athletic department, which, by the way, we're talking the allocation into the athletic department, which is a whole department in and of itself. So that means tennis and golf and gymnastics and baseball and basketball and everything else, and the trainers that get in there, and the weight and the track and field, and the students that are in kinesiology. All of that is buoyed up.
Yep.
Okay. Across the board.
That's
the
right.
money the SEC gets, and Georgia is part of that, and Kirby Smart is for that. But I'm going to go to the second reason that Kirby Smart is worth every single penny of his new contract. And you mentioned, look, educators, firefighters, more important. But when you're the best at what you do, okay, you continue to do that with results that are the best for your position. And that is winning football games. Y'all, I don't know how to express this in any more simplistic of terms.
Yeah.
He wins more games than anybody else. He wins the most important games more than anybody else. We can talk. I could have said recruiting. I could have said hiring good coaches. I could have said all of that. The end of the line is none of that takes place without winning. You can have coaches that develop and send players on. You can have a coaching tree come out, whatever. I don't really care. How about the Georgia football program is in good hands because it continues to win, and the trajectory of not only money coming in to help the university and other students. Again, I didn't say just football players, because that kinesiology student who's taping an ankle somewhere is going to go on and do a PT for somebody else, talk about occupational therapy, talk about physical therapy for kids down the road. They're getting the highest and best possible. That's happening because winning is taking place. Now, you may not like that. Well, this is all Georgia football fans, so we all like that.
We're fine with that.
Other people might not like that's how
they
the
hate
world, I understand. But that's literally how the world runs. You are good at something, you get benefited for being good at that thing.
It's almost as if Georgia's lost 2 games in 3 years.
Wow.
And that's not very many. Let me just extrapolate on that point a bit more, because you said Kirby Smart does the most important thing better than anyone else. He wins. What's the thing? Let's just take a hypothetical person saying Kirby Smart's making too much money.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Let me put it in perspective for you. Clemson is paying Dabo Swinney $11 million a year. Right now, today.
Okay.
Clemson is paying that man that sum in order to coach that product that we've been watching on the field these last couple. So
it's not great.
That's a little perspective for you. What would be the argument that he's making too much money? Let me just ask you, where would you point? Say it another way. What does Kirby Smart not do well at his job? Clint? Because I used to hear a lot of people, Clint, who would say, well, he's not a great in-game coach. You know, he flubs those timeouts.
That's done. Next.
Yeah, we're not talking. No one's really mentioning that anymore. I used to hear people say, well, he struggles to win the big game.
No.
Well, he won the big game. He did it twice, 2 different times. He did it the biggest of the games. I'm not hearing that argument so much anymore. I've heard people say over the years he doesn't develop talent. He just won't. He doesn't develop the talent. That's not what anybody's saying. No one's talking about the recruiting prowess because he's the best recruiter in college football.
Literally.
Also develops that talent at a rate that exceeds anyone else, what anyone else is even coming close to doing. Look at the 3-star draft rate.
I had to get on YouTube to if you're here, but pop off. If you're still here, dude, in the comments, pop off on this, please. Because you said, well, if Kirby went to other universities, he wouldn't have 40 of those players being drafted. Okay, and just let's hit it with facts again. 4 to 5% of 3-star players get drafted nationally. Over 30% of 3 stars under Kirby Smart get drafted.
What? Is that higher or lower?
That's all I need to say to show that you popping off is you being a 13-year-old child who I stopped talking to because I realize you're 13 and I can't do that.
We can't do that. There's nothing he doesn't do well, Clint. That's the main gist of it. Not to mention, we talked about money being generated for the university, but what about the winning? What has the winning done for the NIL, the recruiting, the collective, the Classic City collective, for the overall advancement of the he leads and CEOs a program better than anyone currently in the game.
Now, you can go back and you could point out times at which other players did free clinics and invited the city in and did some. Michael Williams or somebody else is doing a football clinic, and we're all like, okay, yes, that's what they should be doing. Well, no, you don't understand. They weren't able to do so in the past because they were trying to scrape by behind closed doors because it wasn't out in the open. And they couldn't go to now NIL. These kids are having the opportunity to bless the community in higher capacity because they're being taken care of. Because Kirby Smart is getting buy-in from people to take care of the players so they can do a camp all day with kids in Georgia. This, again, you might not like how that works in the world. But
we're ruining college football by paying these kids. We're ruining it.
I've seen 7 day camps, I think the last 2 weeks alone from
That's
Georgia
fine.
players.
Tell that to the kids that are going to Michael Williams camp. Tell them that college football is ruined and that these kids they're not playing for the love of the game anymore, Clint. That's the problem with them, is they just don't love it. They don't bleed red and black.
Do you know the people who say money doesn't matter and you shouldn't play? People who never had money problems as children in their family. You're privileged. I don't use that word a lot in my life.
Well,
but I will use it right now.
Yeah. Kirby Smart just does everything well, and that's probably why he gets paid well. Again, back to Clint's point. We're going to talk in segment 3 about how long we think Kirby might ride out on this contract. This is the conversation that, depending on who you are, you might need a bucket for. But we'll come back and talk about it right after this.
This is, in fact, Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk about more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're just saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff about this game, Daniel. Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments, whether you work together to build each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much more to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends, cool new playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting friends. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day from constantly changing tournaments and challenges a ton, including their own unique minigames like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench, go download it now, Google Play or Apple Store. Game on. The buckets
Congratulations, by the way, to Kansas City Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco for getting a robot Pacheco machine in that game. It I don't know if it's an NIL opportunity, but it seems like
he needs to call his people, need to call their people.
He ought to be profiting off of that. Listen, it's the big conversation when you're sitting on top of the mountain
Yeah.
Clint. Alabama fans will attest to this because they've been living this life. They're not anymore. As of several years ago.
Had lived this
As
life.
of several years ago, the mountain no longer belonged to them, but they remember. They're probably old enough to remember when Alabama used to be the team to beat in college football. And so they'll be able to attest that when you're living high on the hog, as they say, when you're living the good life, when you're living in the glory days, which, by the way, if you're a Georgia fan, these are the glory days. These
We're
are the
currently
good
in
old
it.
days.
You normally don't get to look at that. It's only in retrospective understanding. You're like,
It's as
those
clear
were
as
them.
day.
We're
It's as
here.
clear as day. We're sitting right in it right now. The only real thing that you have to concern yourself with is how long can we keep this going? And I think you know, and I know, and everybody knows that the number one factor towards how long we can keep this thing going is how long we can keep the head man. Because as Alabama fans will, no, they won't because they're delusional, but what they soon will attest to, I promise you, give them 9 months and they will attest to this, that you can't just trot in some guy and expect things to just keep rolling because they ain't going to keep rolling.
Nothing good comes out of
Recruits are going to keep rolling over to Oregon.
Yeah.
Recruits are going to keep leaving your program and running to Dan Lanning at Oregon, who you didn't even consider hiring, by the way.
Hey, we didn't call him. He never turned us down. Never.
You didn't want him, and now Peyton Woodyard's like, I want him.
No, I
wanted him. I wish you would have hired him because
I asked you all. If you had hired him, guess what?
Specifically asked you to hire him.
I would have stayed here. I would have been right here.
I would have been here, and it would have been fun, but you didn't. And so you got some Washington offensive linemen to come over.
Sioux Falls.
Not
Sioux Falls,
great.
South
Okay.
Dakota.
How long can Kirby Smart stay in college football? It's a stressful job, Clint. It's a 24/7 job. It's not a job you would want. Let's just be totally honest with it.
I'm telling you right now, the shelf life of every college football head coach has slimmed down. There is no excess. There's no margin anymore. You have a window of time to be a college football with everything as it is today, standing today.
Yeah, and that's the key.
No longer the 20-year run at
That's
Iowa.
the key, because I think if you're a Georgia fan, you need to be on your knees praying that there is some legislation from whoever powers that be, and it ain't the NCAA.
No, they're useless.
Whatever powers that be, whether it's Greg Sankey or a conglomerate of power conference commissioners, get the Big 10 involved, get the Big 12 involved, whatever. There needs to be some rules and regulations put in place in order to lighten the load on these college football coaches. And if you're a Georgia fan, you need that like you need water to drink and air to breathe, because it's not sustainable in the long term. And I don't care how many $1 million a year you're making. At some point, you're going to say, I don't need this anymore.
I'm literally dying.
So that's step one, is there's got to be some things put in place, whether it's around NIL, whether it's around the transfer portal, whether it's around, a on-season, off-season schedule, whether it's some tampering restrictions, whatever it is. Like, there's got to be some things put into place in order to lessen the burden on these coaches. And then if that happens, Clint, I think Georgia could be in it for the long haul with Kirby Smart. I think he loves coaching football enough that he wouldn't want to go to the NFL. Do you hear what I'm saying?
No, he's not going to the NFL.
He likes football.
Yes.
That's why he wouldn't go to the NFL.
That's why he's not in the NFL right now.
That's why I don't watch the NFL, because I like football.
Because I like football. NFL is unwatchable. Here are the three things. If I was to pinpoint three very small, very easy things that college football can do, whatever conference can do. One, windows of communication and hard and set one time or two times maximum, and it's clear and it's evident. Transfer portal, communication with kids when you can and can't, dead periods that are actually dead periods. Actually dead periods. Not
Interesting.
you can get in trouble for it and then everybody does it. But I'm
Yeah.
talking
But
literal
dead.
No communication. That's one. A calendar, a simple calendar. Get on Google. They have
Google
it for
Cal.
free.
You can share them with each other.
Everybody can know. It's very simple. The second thing, NIL and how collectives integrate into the system of college athletics and regulations around that need to come. I don't care what they look like. Just make it clear, make it known, make it transparent. So we're all playing by the same rules.
Yeah.
Go. That's the second thing. Last thing. Stop adding games. Stop.
But money,
adding.
Clint. But money, Clint.
Stop adding games.
But money.
These are the three very simple rules that would keep Kirby 33 and beyond. Like he's not leaving Georgia until he's done coaching football. Those would keep him past 33.
I think as we sit right now, give me a percentage chance that Kirby Smart finishes this contract.
As I stand today, right now,
I mean, you can extrapolate with as much expectancy as you have that things will change that need to change. You don't have to mandate that the situation, the landscape will stay the same, but you're projecting all of this.
Yeah.
Will Kirby Smart finish out his contract till 2033 or beyond?
I'm giving it a 10% shot that he finishes out as of right now. Things standing are as they right now today. 10% shot that we make it to 30 or 2034 and he's still coach at UGA.
Well, we're dead inside.
Yeah. I know that.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. No, I know that.
Thus ends the podcast.
What do you put it at?
I say right now, it's not as far. 2033 is not as far as you think it is. It's like it feels like
it's close to a decade.
We're talking about, the year 3000 or something, but we're 9 years away. I'm gonna go.
Numanium.
The Numanium. I'm gonna go 60-40. 40% that he finishes out the contract and beyond. 60% that he doesn't. I do think it's more likely than not that Kirby walks away. But I also think the sustainability of college football depends on a lot of these. It's not just Kirby Smart.
All the coaches.
Sustainability of college football depends on a lot of these things being put into place. So I think you will see some of these things. I think the question is,
yes,
the fire burns hot for Kirby Smart. So how long is it going to go? Like that's to me is the bigger question.
When guys like Lincoln Riley, I don't ever want coaching with you. When he gets poached by an NFL team to come be their offensive genius in 2 years' time, okay, college football is going to have a problem when that starts happening more and more because the college coaches are like, screw it. I can just go be a photogenic master planner, play caller, and I don't got to deal with all this crap. That's the Wild West. Great. Sign me up just to be X's and O's. And when that starts happening, college football is going to realize, oh no, we're running off top tier talent. And now we have no one to actually develop. Things like that are going to.
I think you're going to see some changes. I would be tentatively optimistic that Kirby Smart is here for the next 10 years. But I don't know that you can expect 20, 25 years, like this big run, like we've seen before out of a Nick Saban. I'm just not sure it's realistic to expect that kind of thing. We will see. He is Clint. I'm Daniel. This has been the Long-Term Bulldogs podcast, and we will be back tomorrow with more on the Georgia football team, and we will talk to you guys then.
See ya.